Okay, we're going to do a hack to a Samsung A503. We're going to start by taking the screws out. And we're going to do the capacitor. We're going to change the capacitor to a smaller capacitor, and we're going to do the IR hack all the way through. And then we'll lift up the door. There's two here. Another one there. Another one right there. Now the screws are out. Okay, it should let us pop that panel off. The bottom comes off. I'm going to take the front cover off. There, well, that one pulled off real easy. Usually it's a lot harder to pull up around. Okay, we need to take the screws out. We have one here. This is the longer one. We have one here. We got one right beside the speaker. And you got one down in there. That'll let us take the back off. And now the back's off. Okay, we're going to do the capacitor and we'll start that. We need to take two screws out here at the back. One right here. And we have to peel tape way to get to this one. Pull the micro out of there. Move the two top screws. I want to discharge that capacitor before we take it out. Okay, we're going to want to separate. There's a header up here, so we want to separate this up here. Okay, we want to get around there and we can pop that up out. And this is the capacitor we want to change out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip those leads to that capacitor. Just makes it easier to get the old one off. I'll pry that old one up out of there. And that's the old capacitor. Don't need that no more. And what we'll have to do is we'll have to take those leads off. I need to get those leads off. It's one. Need the other one. Two. And my leads are off. Okay, we're going to change that out with a 350 volt 1 UF capacitor. We're going to change this out with a 250 volt 1 UF capacitor. So we kind of figure out, because it has to get down in there. So figure out the leads. Once we have it in position, which I'm trying to make sure I am, this camera's round, it really makes it difficult to keep in one spot. Once we have it where we want it, solder it in. We then can cut our leads off. And our capacitor is where we want it, right down there. Make sure we got good contacts. And we're ready to put it back, partially put it back together. Now one thing, now I did put my capacitor on solder, but I forgot to tell you that you got to keep the white band out for the capacitor. This is your negative, that's your positive. So now we want to put the camera back together. There we go. Now we can put our screws back in once I get everything sorted. There we go. I got one underneath that tape. Well, we can get it in. Keep picking up screws. And those two screws are in. Okay, we're ready to start the IR mod. These two little screws here out. Careful, there's two little springs there too. Now underneath here is a ribbon. There's a little tab. You want to pop it up. You don't want to break it, we just want to pop it up. And that'll allow our ribbon to pop right up off. Now we can pull our lens assembly. And this is the lens we want to take off. And also while we're here, we can remove this micro ring. We're not going to use it no more. Macro or macro ring. As I said earlier, we're going to do IR on this. We need to remove this lens. So we're going to put a little bit of acetone on that lens. Break it off so I can remove it later. Let that sit for about, I don't know, 40 minutes. We'll let that sit and let that work it, and we'll try to pop that lens out. Okay, I left the acetone set for a while, and I'm going to work my way around this lens and try to pop it off. I'll work my way, just get underneath that and pop it. Now my lens is off. With the acetone it pops off pretty easy. Okay, we took the micro ring out already. don't know if I showed that or not, but I pulled it out. So we're not going to use that, but I am going to put the lens back on. I'm ready to put my screws back in. Now, we got to hook this ribbon back up. So we got to get it in that holder. You pretty much need a needle nose pliers. Well, once you get the rivet in, then we just want to push down on that connector. And now we're tight. Now we want to put our switch back. There we go. And